So, one of the big problems in today's world is that men and women are so disconnected, right? And when I'm talking about disconnected, there's a lot of layers to that. But I'm speaking specifically as far as even like engaging and talking to each other, starting off the process of dating and expressing interest and all these things. Back in the days, it was a lot more common for men and women to somehow flirt with each other, get each other's attention, things of that nature. But I feel like in today's world, we become really detached. And so a lot of men struggle with approaching women, and a lot of women struggle with dropping hints or expressing interest, or more specifically, what I like to say is presenting interest. All right. Now, let me just make it clear, because some of y'all will say, well, nah, we're dropping hints. Y'all are some of the worst hint droppers of all time. All right. Like, women swear they're dropping hints, and it's not what you think it is. And men are not picking up on it. But there's also reasons, because a lot of men now, even when you are potentially dropping a good hint, they're overly cautious. They don't want to be viewed as, psycho, annoying, misinterpret what you said. And therefore, it leads to a lot of missed opportunities. So with all that said, I want to help you learn how to grab a man's attention. Instantly grab his attention. Now, I know some of y'all might say, well, listen, it's not our job. The men should be pursuing us. They should be chasing after us. Now, if you watch my previous videos, I do not believe in chasing. I don't believe men should be chasing women, and I don't believe women should be chasing men. I believe that both sides should be making a mutual effort in order to build a relationship. And when it comes to even just getting the ball rolling, there's nothing wrong with a woman presenting her interest to a man. Back in the days, they talked about how, the handkerchief, how women would drop a handkerchief to get a man's attention. There was always signals being thrown, and somehow it's now become this thing where you shouldn't have to do anything at all, but that's just not true. I wish I had it with me, but I remember there was a study that said women who now either approach or initiate, because again, I want you to understand the difference between you like pursuing or chasing versus you're presenting your interest. But women who approach were having much more success with dating, because they're not just waiting to see who might come their way. They're creating the opportunities for themselves. But there's a lot we could talk about here, but let's get into some of the ways to instantly grab a man's attention. And one of the things you can do is make eye contact, but hold it for at least 3 seconds. So here's the thing. I think we all know about making eye contact. That is a common thing. Most people do it to some extent. But it's important to understand that you have to hold the eye contact, because a lot of y'all do that quick look and then look away. And he don't know if you're just glancing in his direction, if you weren't even looking at him. He doesn't know what it means when you do it so quickly. And again, men, for various reasons, are hesitant. So they need something more certain, more of a stronger green flag that says, yes, I'm interested, come my way. So by holding it for 3 seconds, you allow him to see that you are clearly looking at him, and chances are, hopefully, you find him attractive, because even that can sometimes be misinterpreted, but it will help a lot. Now, a quick story. I remember one time, many years ago, I got asked to speak at this event, and the event was being held at a lounge, right? So it was like this panel discussion. I think it was during Valentine's Day or Valentine's Week. Well, anyways, I'm speaking at this event. It's break time. I go to the bathroom, and when I come out the bathroom, the bartender, who was a woman, looks at me, and she holds that look, all right? And it was such a strong look, instead, like there was no way. I mean, I did find her attractive. So, of course, just looking at a man doesn't automatically make him interested in you. It will catch his attention, right? And that's at least step one, so to speak, but it doesn't guarantee he's interested. But in this case, it did catch my interest. We did talk. It eventually didn't turn to anything, but we did exchange numbers. But that happened because she gave that look that gave me the clear signal that she's interested. Let me also say this, for some of you who just feel like, Again, why do we have to make it so obvious? There's been plenty of experiences from men where women did look at them. They approached a woman and she's like, nah, I wasn't interested. Or like she, shoot them off or whatever the case may be, dismissed them. So again, men are cautious and they need something that's a stronger signal. So consider it. I think it's a great thing to do. But of course, we got other things on this list to discuss. All right, so let's keep this going. Another thing you can do to instantly grab a man's attention is to cross his path and smile at him. So the looking and holding for 3 seconds is great, right? But again, when you're doing it from a distance, or maybe because most of the time no one's counting in their head 1, 2, 3, right? So maybe you didn't hold it for as long as you thought and it wasn't as obvious and as strong as you thought. And so by you now creating a situation where you're crossing his path, you're coming into his vicinity, you not only, one, make it more obvious, right, that you have some kind of interest, you also make it easier for him to engage with you. Because if you're across the room, depending on the setting, depending on the situation, it may not be as easy. He has more things that can cause him to overthink and fear if I should get up. But when you're coming within his presence, so to speak, then it just makes it so much easier. Now, of course, again, I don't want you to just cross his path, because some of you will walk right in front of him, not look his way, not show him any kind of energy. And listen, I can tell you as a man who has experienced this type of thing so much, there's been so many situations in my life where I've crossed paths with women, and I would swear they have no interest. They showed me nothing, no look, nothing, only to find out later they were like all into me, so interested, wished I would have said something, but it's like you gave me nothing to work with. So understand that, again, you want to make sure you make these signals as clear as possible. And we're going to talk about the clearest way later, but you really want to be mindful of that. So creating opportunity to cross his path, smile at him. Now, if you combine number 1 and number 2, where you cross his path, you smile, and you look at him for 3 seconds, right? You are working something really good here. You're making it really hard for him to ignore the fact that there is some interest here. So it's another thing to consider. I will throw this in because some of you may be very shy, and putting yourself within his vicinity, crossing his path, may be difficult for you. I'm not going to say that you can't send a friend. I'm just going to say that the friend can't, if the friend's going to be sent, it's going to have to be a more direct approach. All right. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's continue to the next one. All right. So now another effective thing you can do to instantly grab a man's attention is going to be 1 + 2. So holding that look for 3 seconds, getting in his vicinity, right? Crossing his path while smiling at him. But you're going to do it while separating yourself from any friends that you're with. So here's the thing. A lot of you sometimes may be out with friends when you see a man that you're interested in. And many of you sometimes, again, maybe because you're shy, maybe you want your friend next to you for moral support, you might try some things with your friend still being present. Or some of you may not want to do 1 or 2, right? But you're sitting at your table or you're wherever you are with your friend. Maybe you're looking from a distance and you're hoping to get his attention. The problem is men are going to be more hesitant when you have people around you. All right. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to get rejected in front of an audience. All right. So he's not 100% certain whether you have interest or not. Because again, men have had signals thrown at them only to find out there wasn't any interest there. So he's always looking for reassurance. Most guys. Some guys don't care, don't need it. They see what they like, they're going after it. But not everyone's wired like that. So, but back to the point, when you are too much with your friends, you make it hard. So I always encourage women, like, even if it's not crossing his path, let's say you're at a lounge, let's say you're at a restaurant, whatever, and you see a guy. Let's say the guy's sitting at the bar. I would tell you, all right, at some point, leave your friend, whether it's walk to the bar yourself to get something from the bar, whether it's go to the bathroom. I know a lot of women tend to go to the bathroom with their friends, but if you're in a situation where you want to make it easier for this man to talk to you, separating from other individuals helps a lot. All right. Not to mention that when you are with your friends or family or whoever, a lot of people have experienced where that friend or family ran interference, where they hated on the situation, so to speak, and made it difficult. So again, it causes many guys to then be hesitant. So whatever you can do to create a situation where you're by yourself, which is why, and I'm not telling you that you need to do this, I'm just making a point. A lot of times, one of the most effective ways to meet men is to go out alone. All right. A lot of women, when they go out alone, now I will admit, some men may view that as, oh, she's looking for action tonight. I'm just being honest. I'm not saying they should, and that's fair. I'm just telling you, some guys will have that perception. However, I do think that you make it so much easier when you're by yourself. But I understand that going out by yourself can be difficult for a lot of women, safety reasons, just being comfortable in certain environments, so on and so forth. So I'm not telling you to do that. But once you get there, you do have to create some moments where you are by yourself, which will make it easier for that man to talk to you. All right, so now, another way to instantly grab a man's attention won't make you look desperate. None of these things make you look desperate. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. But another thing you can do is ask him for his help. So what do I mean by that? You're in the grocery store. You need to reach something. Even if you don't need help, okay? Just asking for it is going to create an opportunity to talk to each other. And again, it catches his attention. And once you have a man's attention, if he's attracted to you, then there's a very good chance he will proceed with trying to make something happen. Now, let me throw this in there real quick before we continue. Sometimes you capture a man's attention, he is interested, but he can't act on it because he might be in a relationship. He might have a situation where he's not trying to make things messy. So don't always assume that just because someone doesn't act on it, it doesn't mean they weren't interested. It's just that, yeah, they're not available, okay? And it happens a lot more than y'all might think. But going back to asking him for help, grocery store, I always talk about going to Home Depot as a great way to meet men. I talk about it on some of my tour events. And so if you're in Home Depot, it's a great place to like ask for help for different things. If you're in the street, directions. And listen, be smart. Just make something up. It doesn't have to be a real situation where you need help. But the beautiful thing is, again, it allows you to get closer to him, create conversation. And then once you're in that close, you can add some of the other things that we talked about, the eye contact, the smiling. Again, all these things I'm mentioning, when you start, you can do one, you can do the other, but when you combine them, you are having a powerful approach in getting what you want as far as getting this man's attention. Let me also say this, because I know there's some of you who, you guys aren't used to asking for help. Not only are you not used to asking for help, some of you have become so consumed by your independence. And I don't mean that in a bad or shady way. I'm just, speaking to the reality of it, that you got into the habit where not only do you not ask for help, you deny people's requests to try to help you. All right. Whether it's family, friends, men, so on and so forth. It's always, I got it. No, I'm good. And that's a problem. I talk a lot about walking into your feminine energy, tapping into that, because I do believe, it's not even I believe, I know that for the majority of you, if not all of you, it's going to be a powerful tool that will not only create better results in dating and relationships for you, but it will create a better overall quality of life. It's for you first. But one of the things that allows you to tap more into your feminine energy is learning how to receive. All right, opening up yourself to receiving, meaning when someone offers assistance, allow them to. And yes, not being afraid to ask for assistance. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're helpless. But it's just, listen, everyone needs help sometimes or could use some help. It may not be that you need it, but it'd be nice. It'd be good. It'll take a little bit of burden off your back. So I think it's something to practice doing in general so that when you're in these situations and you come across a man in the street or wherever that you want to talk to, it's an easier thing for you to do now to come up with something to ask him for help with. I also think this is not a big point to make, but I feel the need to throw it in there. You know how people always talk about how like men like to feel needed and useful. So I think that asking for help kind of pours into that. Pours into him being able to kind of walk in his masculinity in that moment by being a man that he can provide something. Even though it's a little momentary thing, it does have a nice effect. It does have a nice impact. So asking for help, definitely. But again, you got to practice in your general life as well and be willing to receive. All right, so I got a few more for you on effective ways to instantly grab a man's attention and not look desperate while doing it. And that is to give him a compliment, but to compliment him on something concerning his appearance. Okay? So compliments go a long way. Who doesn't like to receive a compliment? Most people like to receive a compliment. Some people are uncomfortable with compliments. That's another discussion. But they are really effective tools to, one, kind of pour positivity into someone, but also express interest. The problem is if you compliment on something that isn't physical, he doesn't really know if you have an attraction to him versus you're just being nice and highlighting something nice about him. So it's like, okay, if you met him somewhere, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example, but either way, if your compliment has something to do with anything that doesn't deal with how he looks, it's like, okay, he might still pick up on maybe she's interested, but it's less certain, okay? So I know there's a concern by some women that by complimenting on his looks, he might think, oh, okay, you're easy to have sex with. And here's the thing you got to understand. With all these approaches that I'm giving you, all these, things you can do, there will always be situations where a man can misinterpret. And people who want to misinterpret will find ways to misinterpret, okay? They want to find a reason to believe, yeah, she just wants to have sex with me. However, don't let that stop you from these effective things that you can do, because then you won't do it with the right guy. Just understand that if he misinterprets it, correct him when that happens. If he takes it the wrong way, let him know it ain't that type of party. But the minute you stop even doing those things because you're projecting this fear of how he might take it, now you make it harder for you to connect and grab the attention of a guy who would respect what you're saying, who would value it, and who would view it as a genuine opportunity to get to know you better. All right. But going back to the compliment, and of course, we don't be sexual, like don't compliment his package, if you know what I mean, right? Like that would be clearly sending a sexual signal. But, nice smile, how he's dressed, his haircut, things of that nature. That is a much more effective way to compliment when you're trying to throw the signal of, I'm interested and I'm trying to get your attention. All right, so here's another great way to grab a man's interest, grab a man's attention instantly. And that is rub your booty up on him. Now I'm playing, that's not one to do. It would work, it would work, but don't do that, all right? No, the real answer is be sweet, positive, and exude feminine energy, all right? So we kind of touched on feminine energy earlier and the need to learn how to receive, but of course, a lot of feminine energy, when we're trying to exude it, when you're exuding it as a woman, is walking in that sweet, positive energy, all right? That calming, peaceful energy. That will grab his attention. That may not necessarily send the signal of, oh, she's interested in me, right? Some might take it that way, some won't. But it will grab their attention and it will enhance the opportunity or it will enhance the chances of him being interested in you, essentially. Because basically, the vast majority of men desire feminine energy in a woman. The same way the vast majority of women desire masculine energy in a man. And so we are naturally drawn to it, and we're naturally intrigued by it. And it definitely makes us want to engage with this person more. All right. So learning how to be that woman, and a lot of that for many of you starts with learning how to create peace within you. You know, you'll hear on the internet a lot, be a man's peace. I've even talked about that. I have a video that breaks down how to be a man's peace. But it always will start with you creating peace for yourself, right? And a lot of that stems from, or a lot of that includes healing from your past, learning not to internalize so much, learning how to de-stress, you know, making sure you're creating opportunities and time for you to rest and recharge. All right. Some of you are running yourself into the ground. You is constantly consumed by work and doing things, maybe your kids, family, whoever, but no time for yourself. And then what happens is you're not able to walk in that positive energy. You're tired, you're worn down, you're annoyed, you're frustrated. All of that will now project a more negative energy, or can start to project a more masculine energy. Not that being frustrated and things of that nature is a masculine energy thing. It's just that that kind of energy, it presents you in that way. I hope you understand what I'm saying. It comes across in that way, even though it is not inherently masculine to be frustrated or tired. Okay? So learning how to create that environment for yourself. And a quick tip I'm going to say is, you know, for a lot of you, it also starts with your own home. Like for those of you who live on your own, right? Look around your house and ask yourself, does the house give me the energy I need to have a more positive, joyful, peaceful day? Right? And for some of you, that might mean adding some colors into the household. That might mean throwing some plants in there, redecorating in a way that it feeds you that energy. So now that when you walk out of your house and you're out there in the real world, you're going to be now exuding that positive energy that you've been feeding yourself while you were at home. So there's a lot we can talk about with that. But the bottom line is, being that sweet, positive, feminine woman will, in many cases, grab a man's attention. I know for me, it's happened many times where even if the man is not interested, again, it captures his attention, because believe it or not, that's not the typical experience of a man. Meaning, typically, men, when they come across a woman, they're not getting all that feminine energy from her, right? And I know some of you might say, well, if the man is masculine, it'll pull the femininity out of her. That's true to a certain extent, and that's more so after you're engaging with him. But for him to even approach you and want to talk to you, you have to be exuding it already. And if you're not, that's going to repel a lot of men. That's just the honest to God truth. Unless they're just looking for sex, which is different. Guys who just want to have fun with you pretty much don't care what kind of energy that you're giving off. They just want what they want. So be mindful of that. But again, that feminine energy is going to be beneficial for both you and the ability to grab that man's attention. All right. So I got a specific message I need you to hear after this, but this is kind of the last one on the list, and then we'll get to that message. The last thing you can do, or the other thing you can do to instantly grab a man's attention, is simply look good, feel good, and be confident. Okay? Confidence, and let me be clear, not arrogance. Right? Some of y'all might be a little arrogant, a little cocky. Okay? We're not talking about arrogance and cockiness. Confidence. All right? And anyone who exudes confidence tends to make themselves look better. It's a good thing for people to walk in, right? And we can talk about the mindset of confidence, because I do believe a lot of it is how you view yourself, what you're feeding your mind, and then how you project it onto the world. However, part of being able to be confident, like, you can only fake it so much, okay? You got to get to a place of really building that within yourself. So that means being honest with yourself about what makes you feel good, meaning the clothes you wear. Because let's face it, there are certain outfits you might put on and you feel good. Like, you're like, dang, I look good in this outfit. Other outfits don't have that effect on you. So you want to be mindful of that. And you want to start to cultivate a style that feeds that more consistently into you, where you feel good about yourself. Whatever you got to do to feel better and more confident, implement those things. Taking care of your health is going to help you with being more confident. So you want to be mindful of that as well. Because if we're not taking care of ourselves, what we eat, exercise, and things of that nature, well, again, it's not only how it plays out as far as physical presentation, it's how it plays out internally and the effects it has on us. Being more fatigued, being more agitated, struggling with anxiety, depression, all these things can be diet related. So you want to look into optimizing those areas, because the more you optimize, the better you feel. The better you feel, the more confident you become. All right. So that's why we also mentioned feeling good. You got to feel good as well. And when you start to carry that kind of energy with you, again, it becomes easier to be feminine, right? And exude that energy. It becomes easier to smile at somebody. When you're confident, it's easier to now look at them and make that eye contact and hold for those 3 seconds. You know what I'm saying? It's easier to compliment. You see, all these things I'm mentioning becomes easier to do when you feel good about yourself, when you like what you see, right? When you have that confidence. So you want to sit down with yourself and figure out what's going to help me cultivate that. How do I pour that more into myself so that I be well equipped to now gain the attention of a man that I want, right? And not just gain the attention of a man that I want, because for some of you, maybe you don't have a hard time getting men's attention. But these things that I mentioned, a lot of these things are going to help you in the relationship. They're going to help you in the marriage. So it's not just using it just to, get him to talk to you. It's knowing how to sustain it and keep it going. So, I know a lot of this, again, can be scary or feel overwhelming or like, oh, this is too much. It's not. It feels like too much because you're not used to it. You're not accustomed to it. But the more you practice and get comfortable with it, the easier it gets. It becomes second nature. And I wanted to mention about, the concern of coming across desperate. A lot of times the perception of your desperation is going to hinge on if he's interested or not. Meaning, I always use this example. If 10 guys DM'd you right now saying, hey, beautiful, and you didn't really like any of those 10 guys, you might find them annoying, desperate, whatever, right? But if guy number 11 messages you and you actually like him, and let's say they all say, hey, beautiful, right? So the first 10, you're like, oh, they're lame, no creativity. If number 11 says, hey, beautiful, but you actually have interest in him, you might view his actions as, that's so sweet, I'm flattered. You perceive it differently and you receive it differently because you actually have interest. So a lot of times we don't need to be concerned about looking desperate. These things do not exude desperation because we're not chasing, we're not overly pursuing. I'm just encouraging you to present your interest. That's it. And then from there, he still has to proceed. He still has to act on things. He still has to take some level of initiative to keep things going. But you got to give him something to work with. That makes it easier. Let me also say this. I mentioned it before in a previous video where there's this book. I always forget the name of the book. It's ridiculous. But anyways, in the book, they survey married couples after getting their marriage license. Long story short, they ask these people all kinds of questions on why you married this person. And one of the top answers that men gave as to why they married their wives is because she liked him. And what that means is that she was willing to show interest and desire. She was willing to present that interest. And that really captures the attention of men because men are not used to getting that. Men are used to having to be the ones to pursue, even chase, to drive the whole situation. So when a woman is willing to at least give him something to work with, that really hits him and that really bodes well for the potential of a relationship and it growing into something more. So, I want to say this as well. For any of you who are skeptical about these things, Pray about it. Number one, I'm all about encouraging you to pray, talk to God, letting him lead you in situations. Some moments may be like, this ain't for you to smile at that man. maybe that's the wrong man to smile at, and God knows, right? In other situations, maybe he will encourage you to move forward with it. But always talk to God. Always allow God to lead you in these situations. But be willing to move past the fears and the limited perceptions of how we should engage with each other, because there's a lot of blessings waiting for you if you're willing to take that first step.
Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there.
He wants to feel like he has a place, and that's why creating space for him to do for you is a good and beautiful thing. Because what happens, unfortunately, with a lot of you ladies is that some of you have become so accustomed to being independent. And